Summary of The Power of a Positive No. How to Say No and Still Get to Yes. By William Ury. No, thanks. I'd rather not die from your blue plate special. A senior executive had to spend a lot of time on the road. As a result, he ate many of his meals in restaurants. He suffered from a heart condition so serious that eating oil or butter could have killed him. Every time he ordered a meal, he asked the server to make sure that the cook did not prepare his food with butter or oil. Many times, the server just ignored the request, seeing the executive as a cranky troublemaker. Considering the life and death stakes involved, anyone might lose his or her temper at such dangerous treatment. But getting angry with servers and cooks would not have solved the executive's dilemma. Instead, he fixed his problem creatively. Whenever someone served him food prepared with oil or butter, he quickly drew a diagram of his cardiovascular system on a paper napkin. His sketch graphically illustrated that the 3 main arteries leading to his heart were seriously blocked. "My doctors say if I have any butter or oil, I'll die," the executive would then politely explain. "So may I ask you please to take back this fish and have it grilled without any fat?" Invariably, this approach worked. Indeed, the servers became his advocates, because he had mastered one of life's toughest lessons: how to get your point across without making the other person angry. The executive's no included a positive message that supported his self-interests, health and well-being. That yes and no combination constitutes a positive no. To stand up for yourself, often you must be able to say no without harming the relationships involved. This is hard, so many people do not say no when they should. Instead, they let others walk all over them. You can learn to say no in a positive way that will enhance, not ruin, your relationships. The 3 A's. People often make unwelcome, unfair demands. The ability to turn them down is essential. Giving in means giving up on yourself. However, refusing the wrong way can anger those around you and even make them your enemies. Since declining is so difficult, many people back away from it and use one of the weak 3A tactics instead. 1. Accommodation. People give in, no matter what. They want to say no, but they always say yes, undermining their self-respect and hurting their own interests. This often leads only to false temporary peace. Sensing a pushover, people do the expected thing: they continue to push to get what they want. Pretty soon, the pushers win it all. 2. Attack. Some people say no insensitively, regardless of the consequences. They use it as an offensive weapon. They don't just burn their bridges behind them, they blow them to smithereens. 3. Avoidance. You don't say yes or no, you just avoid taking a stand, hoping the issue will go away. It won't. Yes. No. Yes. Many people think that saying no means playing a power game that endangers their relationships, or that they can maintain relationships only if they are always agreeable. However, always being agreeable comes at the expense of their self-interest. A positive no transcends this either-or dichotomy. This balanced tactic lets you stand up for yourself while preserving the relationship. It means saying yes, no, yes. For instance, here's how you can refuse if your boss asks you to work the next few weekends on an important project, but you have promised your weekends to your family. Start with an initial yes by saying that you support the project. Then add a specific no to set a clear limit by explaining that you aren't available on weekends. Next, offer an immediate, conciliatory yes by asking if you can fit the project into your regular hours as an alternative. Your final yes will open the door to creating an understanding and a project plan that respects the company's needs and your priorities. Respect is the pivotal word in this equation. You demonstrate self-respect by standing up for yourself. At the same time, you show that you respect the other person. A positive no always starts with a deeper yes that acknowledges your important wants and needs. This affirms the things that are important to you. It helps establish your motives for subsequently saying no. Use these tactics to convey your initial agreement. 1. The statements, you statements, put people on the defensive. your team is inefficient and you interfere too much with procedures. That is why the shipment was late. Instead, use the statement that simply presents the facts, not your interpretation of them. The shipment was delayed. Your team missed its deadline. 2. I statements. These focus on your needs, not another person's failings. You can combine I statements with the statements following this format: when situation X happens, I feel Y, because I want or need Z. For instance, when shipments are late, I feel bad because our goal is to meet our deadlines. The way that you express an I statement is crucial. 3. We statements. Sometimes, you may seem self-centered if you say no accompanied by or preceded by an I statement. Use we statements to circumvent this potential problem. If you can, make your no into a positive statement that reflects shared standards or interests. We all want to meet deadlines. If you don't start your no statement with a yes, then delivering a purely reactive response to a question becomes too easy. How can you make sure your negative response is not just an emotional reaction? Pause and collect yourself before you deliver it. Count to 10. Ponder your primary interests. Then decide whether a yes or no best supports those interests. To gain time before you give a definite answer, you can even delay by saying, "Let's talk about it this afternoon," or, "Let me think about it and I will get back to you tomorrow." Take time to get in touch with your emotions and needs. Ask yourself why a no seems important. Make sure it really is. Determine what truly matters to you. To create a strong yes statement, you must know your own priorities, the core interests you want to protect and advance. Negatives do not connote power, positives do. Don't confuse whether to say no with how to say it. If the no supports your core values, saying it is crucial, no matter how difficult it is. A purely reactive no is always a problem, so think carefully about your no and what it signifies. Throughout this process, understanding why you want to decline will help you uncover your underlying direction and purpose. Thoughtful introspection makes your negative response more powerful. Develop a plan B. Once you understand your yes, you will be more comfortable with your negative response, but that is not enough. To feel completely fine with saying no, create a backup plan so you have a way to deal with the consequences if your no leads to negative repercussions. For instance, what if your boss harasses you? Saying no signals that you will not tolerate such behavior. If your no does not change things, your plan B might be to ask the Human Resources Department for support or to request a transfer to another department. Plan B is not a fallback. It is a thought-out alternative course of action you definitely will pursue if the other person does not accept your no. Plan B represents positive power. With it, you remain in control. Now, instead of having to turn to Plan B, consider how you can get the other person to say yes to your no. The answer is simple: show that person respect. Often, this important emotional value does not accompany no, so the unadorned no feels like a personal rejection to the other individual. You cannot get someone to agree with you that way. Offering respect instead of rejection does not mean accommodation or obsequious behavior. It means paying attention to others, listening carefully to their views and acknowledging their humanity. You don't even have to like them, you just have to treat them with the same respect you want to receive. The big no. You can't live a reasonable life without sometimes saying no to preserve the clarity, discipline, structure, and order you need. Think of your refusal as a way to select what you want to do and don't want to do, a way to define what matters to you. The best no is natural, clear, firm, polite, simple, and straightforward. A negative no will turn others against you, but a positive no will engage them. Make your no as uncomplicated as possible. Use it as the first word in a sentence: "No, I cannot agree to lower the price of our product." "No, I can't lend you money." Be unambiguous. You also can express your no by saying, "I'm sorry, but I have a policy against whatever is being asked," or, "I have another commitment this evening, so it is impossible for me to do whatever." The important yes. You are not finished once you have delivered your no. Saying no is not just a communication exercise. It also involves persuasion. That is where your final yes comes into play. Your first yes speaks to your values. Your second yes is a positive proposal that lets the other person join you in some form of mutual understanding. It gives the other person a rationale for agreeing with you. Conversely, it turns the tables on the other person in the equation. Now, he or she is in the uncomfortable position of possibly having to say no to you. Your yes may involve another alternative that addresses everyone's needs. For example, perhaps an employee asks you for a raise, but the company just cut your department's budget and you have no money for raises. Don't just say no, because that could create bitterness and affect the employee's performance. Consider some other recognition instead, perhaps a new title. When you say no to someone, be aware that people take time to process and deal with a negative answer. Don't waver or backtrack. Stay true to your statement. Your answer expresses your principles, and yielding on principle is never a good idea. If the person you've turned down gets angry, do not respond in kind. If he or she says something hurtful, pause and think before answering. One way to stay calm if another person starts shouting is to pinch your palm. That sharp sensation will overpower your reaction to the other person's histrionics. Not overreacting when someone else gets carried away puts you in an extremely powerful position. Maintain this stance. Listen respectfully, but stick to your guns. When you must implement Plan B, even the most positive no may deeply anger the other person, who may want to fight back or argue with you. Do not engage in a dispute. You have nothing to gain and everything to lose. The best general is the one who never fights, said Chinese military genius Sun Tzu. Instead, calmly repeat your response as many times as it takes. Make sure that the other person knows you mean business. If he or she does not accept your refusal, then activate Plan B. Your alternative plan is not a threat to get a response from the other person. That would cede control. Instead, Plan B is a course of action that you firmly, independently control. You are in charge. Warn the other person before you implement your alternative plan. Make sure he or she understands the consequences of refusing to accept your negative answer. If this does not work, then move to Plan B, but with respect and restraint. Of course, Plan B is not your goal, which is to develop a positive outcome for everyone. You want to arrive at some form of a wise agreement. This may involve meeting the other person's unspoken needs. To identify those needs, ask about them. You could say, "Help me understand your concerns." Try to reach an agreement the other person can live with over the long term. Construct a golden bridge, another Sun Tzu dictum, that enables the person to cross and join you in some agreeable fashion. This is how to negotiate to yes. By starting with a positive no that says yes to your core interests, you can arrive at a result that meets everyone's concerns.